Speak English without thinking. Too much Ali always believed that speaking English fluently was only for intelligent people. Every time he tried to speak, his mind became crowded with rules, grammar, and fear. Mond. He would think about tenses, correct words, and what others might say about him. Because of this, even simple sentences felt heavy. One day, he got a chance to talk to a tourist who asked him for directions. Ali knew the answer, but he froze. His mind started racing with thoughts like, "Is this sentence correct? Or what if I make a mistake?" In those few seconds, the tourist smiled politely and walked away. That moment stayed in Ali's heart like a quiet regret. That evening, Ali sat alone and thought deeply. Tlans. He realized that his biggest problem was not English, but overthinking. He remembered how easily he spoke in his own language without planning every word. He never thought about grammar while talking to his friends. He simply spoke. That realization changed something inside him. He decided to try a new way. Instead of focusing on perfect English, he would focus on communication. The next day, Ali stood in front of a mirror and started speaking. At first, his sentences were broken, and his words were simple. Sometimes he even mixed languages, but he did not stop. He told himself, "Speak, don't think too much." Day after day, he practiced like this. Mond. He spoke about his daily routine, his dreams, his fears, and even random ideas. Slowly, something amazing started to happen. His confidence grew, his speed improved, and most importantly, his fear began to disappear. 1 week later, he met another tourist. This time, the same situation happened again. The tourist asked for help. Ali felt nervous, but he didn't stop himself. He spoke whatever came to his mind. His sentences were not perfect, but they were clear. Baned. The tourist understood him, smiled, and thanked him. That small moment felt like a big victory. For the first time, Ali felt free while speaking English. Months passed, and Ali continued his journey. He stopped chasing perfection and started enjoying communication. He listened more, spoke more, and thought less. People around him noticed the change. They didn't see perfect English, but they saw confidence, clarity, and courage. Ali understood a powerful truth. Fluency does not come from thinking too much. It comes from speaking more. His journey teaches us something simple but powerful. When you speak, don't try to build perfect sentences in your mind. Let your thoughts flow naturally. Mistakes are not your enemies, they are your teachers. The more you speak, the less you think, and the more fluent you become. English is not a test. It is a tool to connect with people. So next time you try to speak English, remember Ali. Don't wait for perfect words. Just start speaking. Mond. Because the real secret is not thinking too much, but trusting yourself and letting your voice come out freely. Ali's journey did not stop there. Mond. In fact, that small success became the beginning of a completely new life for him. He would stay quiet in gatherings. Mom's afraid that someone might ask him to speak in English. But now, something inside him had changed. He started taking small risks every day. He began greeting people in English. Even if it was just a simple, "Hello," or "How are you?" At first it felt uncomfortable, but he reminded himself again and again, "Don't think too much, just speak." Banned. One day, Ali decided to challenge himself even more. He joined an online group where people from different countries practiced English together. Banned. When he first entered the group, he saw people speaking fast and confidently. For a moment, his old fear returned. His mind whispered, You are not good enough. Lane, but this time he didn't listen to that voice. He took a deep breath and spoke. His introduction was simple and not perfect, but it was real, and something surprising happened. Langda. Nobody laughed. Nobody judged him. Instead, people encouraged him. That moment opened his eyes. He realized that most people are not looking for perfect English. Mand. They are looking for connection. They want to understand you, not judge you. This realization gave him even more confidence. He started speaking more in the group. Sometimes he made mistakes. Sometimes he paused, but he never stopped. As weeks passed, Ollie noticed something interesting. His brain was changing. Mond. Earlier, he used to translate every sentence from his native language into English. It was slow and tiring, but now words started coming naturally, jammed. He didn't need to think so much. It was as if his mind had created a direct connection with English. This is when he truly understood what fluency feels like. Mond. It is not about knowing every word. It is about expressing your thoughts without fear. Ali also started helping others who were struggling like him. Whenever someone said, "I can't speak English," he smiled and shared his story. He told them, "The problem is not your English. The problem is your fear of making mistakes." He encouraged them to speak freely, just like he did. Slowly, he became a source of motivation for many people. Blaze. One evening, Ali was invited to speak at a small event in his community. The topic was simple: how to improve your English. Months ago, he would have refused immediately, bunged, but now he accepted the challenge. When he stood in front of the audience, his heart was beating fast. But instead of overthinking, he remembered his rule. Speak, don't think too much. He started speaking. His words were not perfect, but they were honest and confident. He shared his journey, his struggles, and his small victories. The audience listened carefully. More. Lum. Some people even smiled, because they saw their own struggles in his story. When he finished, the room filled with applause. That moment was unforgettable for Ali. Dand. Not because his English was perfect, but because he finally believed in himself. Ali's story shows us a simple truth. Truth! Fluency is not built in silence, it is built in action. Mond. The more you wait to be perfect, the more you delay your progress. But the moment you start speaking without fear, everything begins to change. Tom. So, if you are watching this and thinking, "My English is not good," remember this. You don't need perfect English to start. You need courage. You need practice. And most importantly, you need to stop overthinking. Speak with mistakes, speak with confidence, and speak every day. Because one day, just like Ali, Minju will look back and realize that the biggest barrier was never English. It was your own hesitation. And the moment you break that hesitation, your voice becomes free. Media. As time passed, Ali's confidence didn't just grow in English. It began to change his entire personality. The boy who once stayed silent in the corner was now someone who shared his thoughts openly. Belemmed. But the journey was not always easy. There were still days when he felt stuck, when words didn't come out smoothly, and when he compared himself to others who spoke better than him. One day, after a difficult conversation where he struggled to express himself, Ali felt frustrated. He went home and sat quietly, thinking, "Maybe I am not improving. Mengwa. Maybe I will never speak like others." That old voice of doubt returned again. But this time, instead of giving up, he did something different. Bands. He picked up his phone and listened to his old recordings from the days when he had just started. As he listened, he was shocked. His past voice was slow, broken, and full of hesitation. Meng, but now, even on his worst days, he was much better than before. That moment taught him an important lesson. Progress is slow, and sometimes you don't notice it until you look back. Mammed. From that day, Ollie stopped comparing himself to others. He started comparing himself to his past, and every time he did that, he found motivation instead of disappointment. Mond. He realized that fluency is not a race with others, it is a journey with yourself. Ali also discovered another secret. He noticed that when he spoke about things he loved, made his English became more natural. Now, when he talked about his favorite hobbies, his daily life, or his dreams, he didn't struggle as much. But when he tried to use difficult words or sound perfect, he got stuck again. That's when he understood that simple English is powerful English. So he made a new rule for himself. Speak simple, speak clearly, and speak confidently. He stopped trying to impress people with big words. Instead, he focused on being understood. And surprisingly, people respected him more for that. One day, something unexpected happened. Ali met the same tourist who had once asked him for directions months ago. This time, the situation was different. The tourist recognized him and smiled. They started talking. This time, Ali didn't freeze. He didn't overthink. He spoke naturally, shared stories, masked questions, and even laughed during the conversation. At the end, the tourist said something that Ali would never forget. He said, "Your English is not perfect, but you speak with confidence, Lambda." That is more important. Those words stayed with Ali forever. That moment was not just about English. It was about growth. It was about becoming someone who is not afraid to try, not afraid to fail, and not afraid to speak. Ali's journey teaches us one final and powerful lesson. Overthinking is like a cage. It stops your words, your confidence, and your growth. But the moment you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be real, that cage breaks. So if you are still waiting to speak perfect English, stop waiting. Start today. Speak in front of a mirror. Speak with your friends. Speak even if your voice shakes. Because fluency is not something you learn first. It is something you build by speaking again and again, and remember this simple truth. You don't become fluent by thinking in English. You become fluent by living in English, speaking in English, and making mistakes in English. One day, just like Ali, you will speak without fear. You will express your thoughts freely, and you will realize that the biggest step was not learning new words, but believing in your own voice. MD. Ali's story was now inspiring others, but deep inside, he knew his journey was still going on. Fluency was not a final destination. It was something he had to practice every single day. Some days felt easy, but some days still tested his patience. One morning, Ali decided to try something new. Instead of just speaking randomly, he started thinking in English. At first, it felt strange. His thoughts were slow, and sometimes he didn't know the right words. But he didn't stop. While walking, he described everything around him in English. The sky is clear. The road is busy. I am going to the market. These small sentences helped him build a strong connection between his mind and the language. Slowly, his inner voice began to change. Before, his mind used to speak in his native language and then translate into English. But now, English itself became a part of his thinking. This reduced his hesitation even more. He was no longer fighting with his thoughts. He was flowing with them. Ali also started a new habit. Every night, before sleeping, he spoke for 5 minutes about his day. Mumde. He didn't use any notes. He didn't prepare anything. He just spoke freely. Some days he repeated the same words. Some days he paused. But every day he improved a little. Manda. These 5 minutes became the most important part of his journey. One day, his younger cousin came to him and said, "I want to speak English, like you, but I feel shy." Manda. Ali smiled because he saw his old self in those words. He sat with him and said something very simple. Shyness comes from fear, and fear comes from thinking too much. Lond. He asked his cousin to speak just one sentence in English. The boy hesitated, looked down, and stayed quiet. Ali gently encouraged him again. Finally, the boy spoke a small sentence. It was not perfect, but it was a start. Ali clapped for him and said, "This is how it begins." That moment reminded Ali of his own first step. It was small, weak, and full of fear, Tamjas. But it was also the most important step of his life. As time went on, Ali realized that speaking English had given him more than just a language. It had given him confidence in every area of life. Mend. He started participating in discussions, sharing ideas, and even helping others learn. His world became bigger because he was no longer limited by fear. Dim. One evening, Ali stood on the rooftop looking at the sky. He thought about his journey, from silence to confidence, from fear to freedom. Blonde. He smiled and said quietly to himself, "I didn't become perfect. I became fearless." And that is the real message of this story. You don't need to wait until your English is perfect. Smd. You don't need to memorize every grammar rule. You don't need to think again and again before speaking. All you need is the courage to start and the patience to continue. Speak. Speak, even when your sentences are simple. Speak even when you are unsure. Speak even when you make mistakes. Because every word you speak is a step forward. Remember, overthinking will always try to stop you. It will tell you to wait, to prepare more, to be perfect. But success does not come to those who wait for perfection. Lamjade. It comes to those who take action. So break the habit of overthinking. Trust your voice. Let your words come out naturally. And most importantly, never stop practicing. Because one day, you will not even realize when it happened. You will just be speaking, smiling, and connecting with people in English without fear. And in that moment, you will understand that fluency was never about thinking too much. It was always about speaking from the heart. Nary, Mond. Ali's journey had now reached a point where speaking English was no longer a fear. It was a habit. But something interesting started happening. People began asking him a question again and again. Mond. How did you become fluent? At first, Ali didn't know how to answer. He had never followed a perfect course, never memorized big grammar books, and never waited to become perfect. Perfect. Dumbi. One day, he decided to record a video and share his journey. He sat in front of the camera, just like he used to stand in front of the mirror months ago. The difference was clear. Before, he was full of fear. Now he was calm, confident, and real. He started his video with a simple line. If you want to speak English without thinking too much. Zalian, stop trying to be perfect. That one sentence touched many people. His video started reaching learners from different places. Messages started coming in. Pleam. Some people said they had the same fear. Others said they had stopped speaking because they were afraid of making mistakes. Ali read every message carefully. Bean. He realized that his story was not just his own. It was the story of thousands of people who were stuck in the same cycle of overthinking. so he decided to help them in a simple way, jammed. He started giving small challenges. Not big lessons, not heavy rules, just small actions. He told people, today, speak for 1 minute without stopping. Braze. The next day, talk about your day in 5 sentences. Then, ask someone a simple question in English. These small challenges started changing people. Sequel slowly. They began to speak more. They began to think less. And just like Ali, they started feeling free. One day, Ali received a message that made him emotional. Mumda learner wrote, "Because of you, I spoke English for the first time in my life today." That message reminded Ali of his own first step. He realized that sometimes, the smallest action can create the biggest change. But even after all this success, Ali never forgot his basic rule. He continued practicing every day. He still spoke in front of the mirror. Sometimes. He still made mistakes. But now, those mistakes didn't stop him. They guided him. Ali also learned something deeper about language. He understood that language is not just about words. It is about expression. It is about sharing feelings, ideas, and thoughts. And for that, perfection is not required. Honesty is. One day, while walking through a busy street, Ali heard 2 people speaking in broken English. Their sentences were not correct, but they were communicating, laughing, and understanding each other. Dance. Ali smiled because he saw the truth clearly. Fluency is not about speaking perfectly, it is about speaking freely. Fact. That moment made him even more confident in his journey. He realized that the world does not expect perfection from you. It only expects effort. As the sun was setting, Ali thought about how far he had come. From staying silent to helping others speak. From fear to confidence. From overthinking to freedom. And then he said something quietly. Something that had become the foundation of his life. Don't let your thoughts stop your voice. So if you are watching this right now, and you feel stuck, remember this story. You don't need to wait. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to think too much. Just start speaking. Because your journey, just like Ali's, begins with one simple step. And that step is not thinking. It is speaking. Lamdia. Ali's journey had now become a story of transformation, but the most beautiful part was still unfolding. One day, he was invited to visit a small school where students were learning English. The teacher had heard about him and wanted the students to listen to his story. When Ali entered the classroom, he saw something familiar in the eyes of those students. Fear, hesitation, and doubt. It reminded him of his own past. The teacher introduced him, and all eyes turned toward him. For a moment, there was silence. Ali smiled and began speaking, not as an expert, but as someone who had once struggled just like them. He didn't use difficult words. He didn't try to impress anyone. He simply told his story. He told them how he used to stay silent, how he overthought every sentence, how fear stopped him again and again, and then he told them how one simple decision changed everything. The decision to speak without thinking too much. The students listened carefully. Some of them nodded, as if they were hearing their own story. Then Ali did something unexpected. He asked one student to stand up and say just one sentence in English. The student hesitated, just like Ali once did. The room became quiet. Everyone was watching. Ali gently said, "Don't think too much. Just speak." The student took a deep breath and spoke a small sentence. It was not perfect, but it was brave. Ali clapped. Then the whole class started clapping. That one moment changed the energy of the room. One by one, more students started speaking. Some made mistakes, some laughed. But something powerful was happening. Fear was breaking. Ollie looked at them and felt proud. Not because they were speaking perfect English, but because they were trying. Mummed. Before leaving, Ollie wrote a simple sentence on the board. Fluency begins when overthinking ends. He turned back and said, "This is all you need to remember. Mainder." As he walked out of the classroom, he felt something deep inside. His journey was no longer just about him. It had become a message for others. That evening, Ali sat quietly and thought about everything. The fear he once had, the struggles he faced, the small steps he took, and the person he had become. He realized something very important. Confidence does not come after fluency. Fluency comes after confidence. And confidence begins the moment you decide to speak without fear. Menja. So, if you are listening to this story right now, understand this clearly. You don't need to be perfect to start. You don't need to know everything to speak. Mangus. You don't need to think again and again before opening your mouth. All you need is one decision. A decision to speak. A decision to try. A decision to move forward without fear. Dongda. Because every fluent speaker you see today was once a beginner who made mistakes. The only difference is they did not stop. Now it's your turn. Aimed. Stand in front of a mirror. Speak one sentence, then another. Don't stop. Don't think too much, just speak. Because your voice matters, and the world is waiting to hear it. After that day, something quietly changed. In the lives of those students, some of them went home and stood in front of the mirror, just like Ali once did. Then some spoke softly. Some laughed at their mistakes, and some felt shy. But they all took one small step, and that is how real change begins. Not with big actions, but with small, consistent efforts. Mond. Ali continued his journey, but now he carried a deeper purpose. Wherever he went, he shared the same simple message. He didn't teach complicated grammar, and he didn't give long lectures. He just reminded people of one truth again and again. Your fear is louder than your English. One day, while traveling on a bus, MDM, Ali sat next to a man who was trying to speak English on a phone call. The man was struggling, stopping again and again, apologizing for his mistakes. Ali watched quietly. Mond. He saw the same hesitation, the same overthinking that once controlled his own voice. After the call ended, Ali smiled and said gently, "You speak well. Just don't stop so much." Blonde. The man laughed nervously and replied, "I am afraid of making mistakes." Ali said something very simple, but very powerful. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. Silent. Silence is proof that you are afraid. Those words stayed with the man, and in that small moment, another seed of confidence was planted. Ali understood something deeply now. Danced. Speaking English is not just about learning words. It is about breaking fear, building courage, and trusting yourself. As days turned into months, Lamja. Ali no longer counted how fluent he was. He no longer worried about how perfect his sentences sounded. Instead, he focused on something more important: connection. Mond. He talked to people, shared ideas, listened to others, and expressed himself freely. And that is when he realized that language is not about perfection. It is about communication. One quiet night, Ali sat under the open sky, thinking about his journey from beginning to now. He remembered the fear, the silence, the hesitation, you know. And then he remembered the first time he spoke without thinking too much. That moment had changed everything. He closed his eyes and smiled, knowing that the biggest lesson of his life was simple, but powerful. You don't grow when you think, you grow when you act. So to everyone watching this, take this message with you. Dainza. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Stop waiting to become perfect. Stop thinking too much, because the more you think, the more you delay. And the more you delay, the more you lose confidence. Instead, take action. Speak today. Speak now. Speak even if your voice is not perfect, because every word you speak is building your future fluency. One day, you will speak without fear. One day, you will express yourself clearly. One day, you will look back and smile, just like Ali, and on that day, you will realize something beautiful. Lamjit, fluency, was never far away. It was always hidden behind your fear of overthinking. So break that fear, trust your voice, and start speaking. Right now.